Mountain bikes. We like mountain bikes. If you have a mountain bike in your garage, get that sucker out and go for a ride on it. Today I tried to do that and found out that I had punched out the sidewall in my rear tire. That's a problem because, well, can't ride a mountain bike with flat tire. Even though the wheel turns and everything, it's just not going to be any good. It won't hold air, so I'm going to have to replace the tire, which means that I'm going to have to go get a new tire and then put the new tire on. So how do I go for a mountain bike ride? Well, the good news is I have a backup bike. So as you probably noticed, this is a different bike. This is my backup bike. And you can also see that it's very dirty because I actually went for a ride on it today. So I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning on this bike and talk about cleaning methods, etc. And also talk about some of the basics getting into mountain biking and why it's a good idea to have a backup bike. So let's start with some basic cleaning equipment. A spray bottle with a little bit of diluted simple green in it. It's an excellent grease and dirt remover. It's one of the things that I really rely on. I get concentrated simple green from Home Depot, for example, hardware store. It's always fun to go to the hardware store. Mix it, dilute it in a container like this, which is just a detergent dispenser. So, and this means that I put this up on a shelf. Makes it very easy for me to just decant right there from the button, put it right into a bottle or whatever other item I'm going to use. We're going to go through and we're going to check out the chain cleaner today too. Get a good brush. Get another good brush. Get an old toothbrush. I highly recommend Bob the Builder. Get a chain cleaner. I can't stress the value of this particular piece of equipment enough. This is a special park tool brush. Not really necessary, but it's useful if you want to get in there in between your cassette cassette rings, your gears, and maybe into other tight spots. It's got very stiff bristles, so it can go in there and really get some of that dirt out. And then 17 different types of bicycle specific lubricant. These are wax. This one's wax based. I don't know what's in this one. There are different lubricants for different types of applications. I like the wax based on the chain because it doesn't collect a lot of dirt. Depending on the conditions you're riding in, if it's very wet, you probably have to go to something that's a little bit more viscous, like an oil-based type chain lubricant, and you're going to have to clean that off after every ride because it's going to be full of sand and grit. And really, it's not that hard of a problem as long as you have the proper equipment. Rag, also useful. I've been doing this for a while. One of the critical mistakes that I see people make after a ride, especially on their brand new high-end mountain bike, is they take it to a car wash and they power wash it off. Gets the dirt off quick. But what you don't realize is that high pressure water is probably going to get in through your bearing seals. Especially I see people getting in there with the wand and really going after it to get that little piece of grease off in there. Don't worry about that little piece of grease. If anything, actually, it's protecting your bike at the moment. But what you don't want to do is force water into your bearings or inside the frame or into other places where you really don't want water to collect. So the first thing I do is I just give the bike a gentle dose of water. Not high pressure. Just get all the dirt kind of damp so it's a little bit easier to remove. This will also wash off a lot of the big stuff. It just helps initially to get things moving. Get some of this dirt braided, this mud moving. A lot of clay in this one area I was riding. That will just attach indefinitely. Try to get that moved out. The one thing you want to avoid doing is getting a rag and just running it along your frame in parts to try to get the dirt off. The problem with that is all that little sand, rocks, grit, whatever's in there. It's just going to leave scratches. It could cut through your clear coat. This frame happens to be anodized, so it's mostly impervious to that kind of thing, but most bikes these days are painted or have a clear coat over the top of them. This is where the toothbrush comes in handy. Thanks, Bob. I mentioned earlier that it's good to have a backup bike in your garage. This happens to be the pinnacle, or one of the sort of the high-end bikes back from the mid 2000s. This is a 2004, 2005 bike that was very high-end in its day, but now you can find these all over the place on Craigslist. They're lurking in a lot of people's garages. They don't use them anymore. Some really good bikes out there, and with a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of TLC, you can get it to where it is as good as anything that you can buy today. Geometry isn't the same. The wheels are smaller. These are 26-inch wheels. There's no such thing as a 27.5 or 29er wheel back in those days. Well, there might have been, but they were very rare at that point in time. But you don't need all of that. This bike will go up a hill just as quickly as any other bike out there, depending on the rider. Has different performance characteristics. It may not be as good as what you can get these days. However, for your basic ride to stay in shape, don't want to miss that trip with your buddies, get yourself a backup bike. This also makes an excellent starter bike. The reason is because if you go out and you spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a mid-range mountain bike, you know, that you're going to use to learn to ride on, brand new mid-range mountain bike, you know, you're going to miss out on a lot of things. First of all, that mid-range mountain bike is going to come with kind of average components. For its day, this has top-notch components on it. It's got some XDR components on it. These are Crossmax wheels. Very good stuff. They're even tubeless. So I run this bike in a tubeless setup. I can add a seat post dropper to it too, no problem. It'll take that upgrade. It's got excellent suspension, Fox front and rear. Bike has still got 6 inches of travel front and rear. It's everything you need. And if you get one of these things out of somebody's garage, you might have to do a little bit of work on it, which is going to teach you a lot about the maintenance process and the maintenance portion of owning a mountain bike. So if you have a backup bike, or you want to get into mountain biking, get yourself something. Get somebody's garage queen. Get somebody's bike that they rode a bit but never really got into, spent a lot of money on probably back in the day, hang out because they thought they were going to, you know, really get into mountain biking, and then use that to learn to ride. You'll pick up all the same skills. Like I said, just maybe add a seat dropper so that it's a little bit up to kind of modern spec, or modern spec. So the little dropper post will go a long way to getting into it. All right, let's go to the simple greens. Now, full disclaimer, I bought this bike back in 2005. Actually, I bought it in pieces and assembled it myself because I like building my own bicycles. It's part of the fun for me. I find that they're really not all that hard to build and work on. You need a limited tool set. It's not like taking apart cars where you need lots and lots of tools and a lot of space. And I just find they're a little bit easier on your garage and a little bit easier on your budget if you're really into wrenching on things. They make an excellent pastime. Everything on these things has to be torqued to spec, just like anything else. You want to take your time, you want to do the job right. Now you notice I'm spraying around the wheels here. Even though this doesn't have rim brakes, this goes a long way to keeping your bike clean. It also keeps the dirt from accumulating around the rim, which then cause those kinds of sidewall issues I was mentioning that sideline my other bike, my more modern version of the Ellsworth, which is a modern, call it a modern spec bike, I guess. Now, mountain bike technology changes all the time. They're always trying to sell you something new and telling you it's the best thing. But I'm telling you, my lap times around my local trails are really, depending on how I feel on any given day, are just as quick on this bike as they are on my other bike. It's probably just not as comfortable as my other bike because of the relaxed geometry and the larger wheels. Just make it a little bit easier to get around the trail. The other thing that's really nice about the modern bikes is, if you are considering getting one of those, is that the longer rake, the bigger wheels, make for a much better bike handling experience, especially when you're descending. If you like technical trails and things, it's a great way to go. However, if you're getting, like I said, if you're getting started, none of that's really going to matter to you out of the gate. And if you buy an inexpensive, high-end, older bike like this, and believe me, there's still plenty of parts available for these on the web, online. You can buy them. You can even get original stuff new in box from like 2010 out there on eBay. You'll see that stuff show up all the time. Once you decide, hey, mountain biking is for me, it's real easy to take that thing and hang it in the garage, check it out once in a while, make sure it's ready to go, because you are, at some point in time, when you buy that new bike, you're going to break it and you're going to want to go out for a ride. This makes a great backup. And an inexpensive solution at that. So now that I've simple greened everything, I'll go around and look at some of the areas I didn't quite get into. Oh, another thing. Bicycles are not the place to start just spraying WD-40 all over them. I know I've said great things about WD-40 in my other videos. Bikes are not one of those things where you want to go in there with a lot of WD-40. WD-40 is awesome, don't get me wrong. It's wonderful for cleaning surfaces, for lubricating parts, for keeping water off of them so they don't rust if they happen to be steel, so it prevents corrosion. Also makes it so that you get screws loose later. It's great stuff. However, WD-40 is an oil, a lubricant, in a solvent. That solvent will go right in through your bearing seals and turn your grease into mush, which will then leak back out through your bearing seals. Now you don't have bearing lubricant anymore. Your bearings are going to fail. So don't go spraying WD-40 liberally all over your bike. If you see like a little rusty screw or something like that, you want to protect it from the elements, just add a dash. It's all going to work out fine. All right, let's go to the chain cleaner. Now, if you can get part tools, get the part tools. Part tools are usually pretty good. However, their chain cleaner let me down last time in terms of like one of these internal rollers failed. It's not that big a deal. I'm sure they've improved the design by now, but these things are relatively inexpensive, very easy to use, and I'll show you how it works. So we're going to put a little bit of, show you how this works. We're going to put some of the simple green mix in there. Careful not to spill it. Put the lid back on. Lid back off. Got the chain cleaner on the chain. See the magic that then ensues. Now, just run your chain backwards. Easy peasy. All those little magic rollers and everything, you can see there's little bits of grass flaking off, etc. See, my wheel is turning backwards, which means that I need to go in and rebuild that wheel. I think these Cross Maxes may have aged out their bearings at this point in time. Chain falls off, no problem. Put it back on. And that's really all there is to it. Do this until the fluid looks pretty murky. And the chain looks nice and clean, and you can see little soapy bubbles forming on it. That's good stuff. It'll take off pretty much any lubricants that are left on there. You can see that's kind of nasty and dirty right there. That's what we want to see. That's all that dirt from the trail this morning. Rinse out your chain cleaner. Thing back together so I don't forget. Kick it over and spill all my Simple Green all over the place. Oh, the other cool thing about Simple Green, it's biodegradable. Good stuff, made Now I will leave this open and in my cleaning bucket just so that it dries out. Sometimes these things have metal bits in them. This one was designed pretty well. I think it's pretty much all plastic or nylon. I forget where I got this. I bought this on eBay. I don't even know whose tool it is. Or sorry, Amazon. Bought it on Amazon. Fantastic. Now the other thing is, I like to move my tools out of the way as I'm working around the bike like this, otherwise I'll step on them and break them. A lot of the things are going to be plastic. Alright, let's rinse this sucker off. See all that sand and dirt coming off of the chain. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. See, just want to give a light dousing and wait till the water starts to run out clear. That's the simple green at work. Your elbow grease at work. Now if you're cleaning it right before a ride, you want to get that rag that I showed you earlier out, clean up the chain. It's not a good idea to put lubricant on a wet chain. Unless of course it's already raining and you're going to use a heavier oil, but when I use the wax stuff, I tend to like a nice dry chain to put that on. That's pretty much it. So remember, you don't need to spend $8,000 or $5,000 on a brand new mountain bike. If you want to get into the sport, pick something like this up. Probably see them online for $1,000. You can probably talk them down to $700 or $800 because it's been around a while. Probably you're going to need a little bit of work, a little bit of tune-up. But like I said, for me, that's probably half the fun. Anyway, so get one of these in your garage. That way when you break your bike, you've got the answer ready to go.